Hi, welcome, it's Kylie Koo. Welcome to Kylie Koo Studio. So, it's been a while since I've done many of my eco projects, you know, my eco art and my eco journaling, and I've realised that I've got such a stash of stuff that I really need to get on and do something soon. So I used a cardboard box the other day for a journal page, and today I'm going to be making some eco ATCs, artist trading cards. So again, I'm just going to use a cereal box, but you can use any sort of box. This is quite nice and thick, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start just by opening it up. When I make artist trading cards, a set of them, I like them to have a kind of common feel. I like each one to be different, but by the same token, if it's part of a series, then I like them to have a kind of common look. So what I'm going to do is decorate this whole piece of card with the kind of general background, and then I'll do each card individually. Now, I'm not sure how many I'm going to make today, but whatever I have left over I may keep to make other ATCs with, or I may make them into tags. So I'm just going to start by giving this a quick sand, because it's got a bit of a shiny feel to it, not too much, but I'm going to give it a quick sand and then a coat of gesso, probably clear gesso. So here we go. So that's it sanded. I like to go over it with a baby wipe just because I have asthma and you can get little bits of the kind of dust coming off, so I just pick that up with a baby wipe. So now I'm just going to give it a quick coat of gesso. As I say, I think I'll just use clear gesso today. So that's the clear gesso on. Most of this will dry in. I'm not too concerned about it being totally smooth, so you know, the brush marks will show a bit. That's fine, that just all adds to the kind of character and texture of the background. So I'll now leave this to dry for a minute, and while that's drying I'll just clean up my mat here. Okay, so that's more or less dried, but I realised that although I want to make a number of cards, I haven't actually thought of a theme for those cards. So while that was drying and while I made a cup of coffee, I was giving that some thought. So I think I'm going to make it something to do with inspiring words. So we'll see how that goes. Now, because this is an eco project, I'm going to try using the dribs and drabs of paint. If I don't have enough, I'll, you know, revert to my newer paints, but I always like for eco projects to use up those little bits and pieces at the bottom. So I'm going to start with a background of, I've got some primary blue here that I'm going to use. I don't want them as dark as this, and some white, but if I need to add other blues in, because this is just about done, I'll do that. But I'm just going to give it a general cover all over. Okay, so I squeezed as much paint as I could out of those. I've not quite got enough to reach to all the edges, but I'm not concerned because these will be coming off for tags, and I can add more waste paint or whatever to those later. So already you can see that because of the way I just mixed the paint on there, there's no way that any two cards will look the same. The other thing that I've done is just take my brush. I often like to do this just to add a bit of texture, just by dabbing the brush up and down, and in some cases it will lay some paint down that's still on the brush, and in other cases it will pull some up, and that just gives a bit of added texture, which hopefully you can see there. So again, I'm just going to leave this to dry now, and we'll do the next layer once that's dry. So I'm now going to take this script stamp by Crafty Individuals, and see it's well used, and just some dark blue ink. I did think about putting it on acrylic and stamping it quite regularly, because this is just slightly smaller than an actual ATC, but you know, that's too neat and ordered for what I want to do, so all I'm going to do is start stamping down at different angles and just covering the page. So that's given me quite good coverage. I'm not too concerned about these bits because, as I said, those are for a different project anyway, and they'll probably get covered up with something else, but that's given me all over. So again, I'll give that a couple of minutes just to set a bit. Probably just go over it with a heat gun. So before I cut this up and start to individualise it, I'm just going to take some white paint that I put on my plate here and a cardboard tube, and again, just randomly, I'm going to make some circles over it. And I apologise for the shadows that are showing up today, just the way the light's coming in. So again, I'll leave this to dry, but you can see that when I come to cut these up, each will have a kind of common elements of that mixed blue and white background, the stamping and those white circles, but each will look quite different once it's cut. So I'll leave that to dry and then I'll start to cut them. So that's fairly dry. I'm now just going to use a cutting tool to take away the outside edges first. I could use scissors, but I'm going to give this a go, so you may want to look away now. I'm not terribly good with these things. So I have my first main panel cut out. Those are the bits from the edges. So basically all I took was this panel in here, so I've still got this one to cut, but this is going to give me quite a number of ATCs, so I'm just going to stick with this one just now. So I'm going to make each ATC 2.5 inches by 3 inches, so I can get 7 inches across this piece. So I'll make each of these 3.5. Sorry, that's just me thinking that I'm just making sure that I'm measuring it right. So I'll cut out 2 that way, and I'll take my best edges and decide then when I'll cut. And then that's 11. So if each one's 2.5, 5. So I would get 1, 2, 4 that way. So potentially I could get a total of 8 ATCs out of this. So I think what I'll do today is I'll go for 6, but that gives me a bit left over if I did need to make any more. So I'm now just going to cut these 3.5 by 2.5. So I could have just cut those straight off, but I wanted you to see how I'm getting the 6. And as I say, I could have got another 2 in there, but I'll just focus on the 6. So I'll now cut these 6 out. So there I have my 6, and as I say, each has it's quite a different background. It's similar background, but each one is actually different. So straight away the cards will be different. All I'm going to do now is to take my piece of sanding paper and just go round the edges, and that will just lift off any little rough bits that are still clinging due to the cutting. Now I'm thinking that I'd like each card to have a butterfly or moth on it, and I quite like this page from the Tim Holtz Ideology collection, so I think I'm just going to cut out 6 of the smaller to medium sized ones and have one for each of these. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to fussy cut it or just do it as a square. I'll have a think about that. The other thing I want to do is just to take back some of this blue a little bit, knock it back a little bit. It's quite bright, I do like it, but I want just to take it back a little bit. So I'm going to use some of the Tim Holtz Distress inks. I'm not sure which one, but this is where having something that already has your colours on it, with that kind of similar material, you can actually try different colours and see which effect you'd like. So that's the antique linen, which is not too dark. Quite like it. I don't think I need anything as dark as that. Vintage photo, that's a favourite of mine. Now that's actually gone on quite dark, so I think I'm just going to go with this antique linen one at this stage. I'm just going to generally go over the card using probably just that baby wipe I used earlier. I'll just dampen it a little and then take it round. So that's almost so subtle that it's actually almost quite hard to see it, but you'll just see little bits here and there. And I'll probably add some more later, but once I get the next layers on. Okay, so I've cut out my butterflies. I'm now just going to add some washi tape randomly to these, and then I'm going to take some Glorious Gold from Deco Art and just use a fan brush and kind of splatter some paint on. Okay, so I'm now covered in splatters, but I'm going to give these a quick dry. Some of the splatters will move a bit with the heat gun, but that's fine. Again, it just all adds to that individual effect. So back in a minute. So I have these little tags that I've had for a while, and I'm just going to take each of these and darken it slightly with the antique linen. So I roughly know where I'm going to put everything. I've decided to add these little heart buttons. I've had these for quite some time. Sorry, not focusing terribly well. They're all different. I've added a word to each of my little tags. I've got my various butterflies there, and I think I'm going to glue these in place with Mod Podge Sparkle. Now, I haven't used this before, so what I plan to do is to give each card a layer of it and then stick everything down with those, and that will also help stick the washi tape down, which is lifting in places. So I'll do that now. So I'm just about there with these. I have added one other thing, which is one of these adhesive stones from, I don't know if it's Dough Crafts or Do Crafts Paper Mania, so I've just added one to each. And all I'm going to do now is take some vintage photo and just use a piece of kitchen towel and just rub round the edges, just a little bit, just to darken round the edges. So there we have them. The only thing left for me to do really is to put something on the back. Now I've decided that I don't want to cover the whole thing up because I'm quite proud of the fact that these are eco ATCs, you know, made from cereal boxes. But what I will do is to put a label on to say that I've made them and the name of the series, which I think I'm going to call Eco ATC Inspirational Words, because we have believe, and you can see that the Mod Podge is sparkling here. Laugh, hope, create, peace, and imagine. So these have been fun to do. Glad that I've used up another part of a cereal box from my stash. So I'll put photos of each of these on at the end. And yeah, so an enjoyable project. So hope you give these a thumbs up if you like them, and if you've not already subscribed, then please do subscribe. And you know, as I like to say, if you are a subscriber, then thanks for coming back and watching me, and I certainly hope you'll join me for my next project. So thanks very much. Bye for now.